We are back with a different guest this week. I've been trying to find some different guests, and I thought this was really appropriate because this is something I'm interested in. I know a lot of people are not well versed on. So, Lee Chapman, I'll just get you to introduce yourself because you'll introduce yourself a lot better than I will.
Right, sure. My name's Lee Chapman. I am the business owner of SA Gold Traders. Long story short, I've been in the jewellery industry since I left school in 1988, right back when the earth was still cool. And basically I've done everything through the jewellery industry. I've been a bench jeweller most of my life. And then a few years ago, my doctor said you should have surgery on my shoulder. I decided not to do that. And we started up SA Gold Traders, and we're in the city. And basically we buy and sell as a Perth Mint distributor gold and silver. And we also buy scrap gold and turn that back into fine gold. And we do all of that. And we educate people as best we can on what they want to do with their gold, what they want to do with their silver, how to make money, and how the whole system works.
Yeah, and you said Perth Mint. Is there much of a difference between, say, the Perth Mint and is it the ABC Mint, or is it just different producers?
Yeah, they're different producers like Ford and Hoarding.
Yeah.
So they're both internationally recognised bars. So it's basically the sticker that's on it. It's metals. Like you have a Mercedes-Benz and a Ford, they're still made out of metal. It's just you're paying for the badge.
And that's the best thing, I guess, about gold. What you're getting is exactly what you're getting all the time.
Correct.
And silvers, obviously. And I don't know, platinum seem to be pretty popular too.
Yeah, platinum's popular. It's just harder to trade platinum. Most people just go with gold and silver. So you can get platinum, but we steer away from it just because it's just harder to move. Whereas gold and silver, it's just quite common. Everyone wants to get in on it. It's just easier to trade and move than it is platinum.
Yeah, and when did you get it? You've been doing it for how long, did you say?
15 years.
15. That's pretty still relatively freshish.
Oh yeah, I guess on the long scheme of business, but most businesses don't last the first 3 years.
Exactly.
So by statistics, if you make it more than 5, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So we just buy and sell and just make the small percentage in the middle. But gold got to, when I was a bench jeweller, gold got to $1,000 an ounce. And my wife and I said, look, when it gets to $1,000 an ounce, we're done, because my employer, I was a subcontractor to Angus and Coote Jewellers, and they weren't putting their prices up, but the price of gold was going up, and my margins were getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And I said, well, I might as well just go get a job. So using my Army Reserve training, I got a part-time job in security for a little while. And then the opportunity started SA Gold Traders, and we just rented out a room in the city and went from there. And we've been there 15 years.
Sorry, I was just looking at your watch. That's a fantastic watch, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Seiko. Buy a Seiko.
Nice watch.
Buy a Seiko. You can't kill them. They're awesome.
Kind of looks like a Rolex too at a glance.
You can't kill a Seiko. I've had it in thinners. I've had it in water. You name it, it still keeps ticking. Yeah, buy a Seiko.
And you were in the Army Reserve.
Yeah, I was
in
the Army Reserve for 9 years.
9.
Yeah. So I was a crew, worked my way up to, I was a light horseman, and I worked my way up to crew commander of a personnel carrier. So good fun, but I'm an old man now. It's a young guy's game.
Did you get into like precious metals and stuff just with like, I guess some people have different like avenues for getting into precious metals, and like a lot of them seem to be some sort of distrust in the government or the way things are current. Not the government, but the currencies and how fiat currencies are so well regarded and trusted for blind reasons.
Yeah. The word fiat just means by government decree.
Yes.
That's all fiat means. So the money you have, it's only worth something because the government decrees that it's worth what it is. And when you understand how money's created, you think, oh, this is just the biggest scam there is.
Well, that's one thing I'd love to go into, because I don't actually understand where the money comes from.
So the first scary thing I'll go with you, like, it doesn't matter, where are most of your people on your podcast, what jurisdiction are they in? Australia?
Majority are from actually South Australia and New South Wales.
Cool. Okay.
So about 70% is Australia based.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter which country you're in, but if you look at a note, right, any note, and it says it's decreed here by the Reserve Bank Governor, right, and the Secretary to the Treasury are on the note, on the signature on the note, right. So even though I hold this note, I don't own it. I'm the holder. I'm not the owner of it. The Treasury owns this note. So
I've never read that.
Yeah, it's right in your plain face. So when people realise that, oh, that's my money. No, it's not your money. You're holding the money, but you don't own the money.
You're essentially leasing it.
You're leasing the money. So when So this is the scariest part. So you want to buy a house, let's say, right? And you come up, and the bank says you've got to come up with 10%. So you come up with 10% and you stick it in the bank, right? And then the bank goes, they ring up the Reserve Bank and they say, look, we need a loan for $1 million. Because Sav's put in $100,000, he wants to get $1 million loan, he's got 10% he's got to come up with. So you've put in your money. They ring up and they go, they don't have the money. They ring up the Treasury or the Reserve Bank and they say, look, Sav wants to chuck in a $1 million home. What does he have? Oh, he's given us 10%. And they go, sweet. So what they do is then they lend the bank the other 90%. And they send an IOU to the Treasury saying, can you just print up $900,000?
Interesting.
And they go, bink, and it's not even cash. It's just a book entry. They then send that IOU to the Treasury. They print up the money they just put it on the accounting sheet, and then they give that to the bank, and they say, look, we're going to lend it out to you at, I don't know, 5%, but they're charging you 6.5 or 7%. So they're making 2% on your money and on the money that they've just been given that's not even theirs, that's just created out of thin air.
And then the Treasury's making the 5%.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's so investment in home loan percentages are also dictated by the Treasury.
Yeah. So when they dictate rates, it's the Reserve Bank of Australia that dictates the rates, which is a part of the Reserve Bank of America. It's all part of the same cartel, really.
The Federal Reserve.
It's all privately owned. So when the government say, oh, we can control rates, they can't control rates any more than you and I can control the tide. It's got nothing to do with the government. It's what the private entity and the World Reserve Banks set the interest rates at.
So does it really? So that brings another question up of like because there's been a massive spike since the Trump administration obviously has gone in. Does it actually matter which administration goes in?
It does to a point, because the reason, whether you love Trump or hate him, right? And we can go into this for hours, but the reason the establishment don't like Trump is because he's not a politician. He's a businessman, right? So. And like a businessman, he can look at the books and he goes, right, so who do we owe money to? Who owes us money? Why are we paying money for stuff we haven't received yet? So let's not spend more money on the defence industry until they pay us for the jets that we said we're going to get and they haven't paid us for or have given them to us yet. And people were just freaking out because, that's not how government works. And he says, well, under my government it is. Why should you pay for a product and not get it? So, and then he's looking at China and he goes, well, they're doing us over. Let's do something about that. And that's why they don't like him, because he's not a politician. He's a businessman. The difference between a politician and a businessman is politicians go straight from school. They go into university. They study politics. There's not a separate one for Greens, Labor or Liberal. They all know each other, right? They all know each other. And then it's the biggest scam ever. Afterwards, they're all high-fiving each other on the back going, oh, man, we got everyone just stitched up. Because once they're in the system, they don't want to get out of it. They don't want to teach you about money. They don't want to teach you about politics. That's why money and politics aren't taught at school, because they don't want you to know.
It's very funny. I always say it's so funny that no one even teaches you how to pay fucking tax at school.
Because they don't know. Because
they don't teach you any tax or investment strategy, anything.
Think about it. If you had 5 million Australians that decided one day to follow the government instead of following football, do you think politicians would get away with half the stuff they get away with?
That's right. Yes.
No, they wouldn't. That's why they don't teach it to you. That's why you stay in the dark and you watch the Kardashians or Married at First Sight or football, because they don't want you to. They won't want you to know. They keep you where you are, just young, stupid, and fat and happy, so you don't complain. You basically, the system is made so you make just enough money to live, and not enough money and not less enough for you to riot. Right? Australians are very laid back, and she'll be right, mate. In places like Greece, France, if the government does something stupid, they go mental.
Yeah.
Where Australia's like, oh mate, who's playing? The Crows are playing who today? It just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's a different. Well, my parents and my family are from Cyprus and
Yeah.
Greece, and they actually deal in a lot more. They have a lot more care for precious metals than Australia. That's one thing you notice when you get older.
Yep.
About how valued gold still is in
Yep.
those kind of older countries.
Yep. I've got one of my clients, she's from Greece and she still goes over there. And she was telling me you can still only get 60 or 70 or maybe 80 euros out of an ATM a day.
Yeah,
Because
they won't let you take money out of the bank. So that's why Greeks are very well known for holding cash and gold. Like my father has like the nicest safe. Just like it lights up because through his travels in the army back in the day, he just used to collect gold from Japan and the Arab Emirates and Europe and stuff. He's just got a fantastic gold collection.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can jump into a taxi in Athens and you can say, "Hey, Alfonso, how far can I get across Athens for half a gold sovereign?" And he'll pull out a pair of tin sips under his seat, and he'll cut it in half, and you go, "No worries, mate." And away you go, and or you can cut it into quarters because whether it's a gold sovereign, whether it's anything from Switzerland or anything like that, Swiss franc, it's all 22 carat. They know how much gold is, and they know what the gold value is in so it has value. Whereas if you buy a Greek euro and the economy crashes tomorrow, then that Greek euro is not worth anything.
Well, and that leads to another question: how do they determine? Is everything pretty much based off the US dollar to a degree?
Well, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, and that happened in the Bretton Woods Agreement just after the Second World War. And at that stage, the US dollar was backed by gold. So most currencies back then were backed by gold. Right, the British pound was backed by gold. The Australian currency we had ours backed by gold, and then the US decided after the Second World War, we're the biggest, baddest guys with the most guns. Right, we've got the gold. We're going to make the US dollar the world reserve currency. Everyone that owes us money from war bonds and so forth, and the tanks that we gave you and all that sort of stuff, you can pay us eventually. I think the UK only paid off their debt to the US back in only a few years ago, and then they became the world reserve currency because it was backed by gold. Then it got up to 1971, in the middle of the Vietnam War, start of the Vietnam War. Nixon was, to a few countries, looks like they were spending a bit more money than they had in gold, right? So if you Google it, the French government thought something's up. So they sent some warships in the middle of New York Harbour and they said, look, we want our gold. Take it out of the vault and give it to us. We're not leaving until you give it to us. So after a few days of negotiation, the French got their gold and they sailed off back to France. Shortly after that, Nixon realised that he's been found out, and after that, he said, we're no longer pegging the US dollar to gold. So which meant after that, they could just print as much money to the wazoo, right? And they've started to devalue, because the more that you print, it creates inflation. If you had a business where you had your own money and you could print your own money, why wouldn't you? And that's why America just did so well, because they could just print so much money. But what's happened is it's created an inflation problem because everyone's been trading with US dollars. And if you inflate it too fast, by the time you print $1, a week later it's worth less than $1 because you've made more of them.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So you've got countries that are going, look, I don't want to deal in US dollars, because if I want to buy $1 billion worth of iron ore off you, and you're a country, and then you want to use that $1 billion, I've just paid you for your iron ore, but by the time I've paid you, it's no longer worth $1 billion. It might have gone down by a few hundred million. So now you've got to come up with an extra few hundred million because you want to buy some aluminium from, Uruzgan or, wherever. So these countries got together called the BRICS nations. Basically, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, and a few other nations, there's a few more wanting to join now, they decided, well, let's trade with each other without using US dollars, because the system's broken. And because of that, those countries have been buying gold, because eventually they want to try and back that currency with precious metals.
Yes.
Right? Because then they can say, well, our money's, if you want to buy into this consortium, your currency, it can't be wishy-washy, it has to be backed by something. And the only thing they can really back it with is gold and silver. Can't back it with crypto because it's not a real thing. And that's why the price of gold's going up, and everything is being tied to the US dollar. but less and less countries want to deal with it because it's just losing its credibility.
I was when BRICS first came out, the big thing about it was a lot of crypto investors believed that it was going to be a massive deal for cryptocurrency. I remember, but the backing behind it is gold and precious metals.
And here's another conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory, but geez, it makes sense. If there is only so many investors in the world, right? Let's just say there's 1 billion investors in the world, and they were all, up until 20 years ago, they were all investing in gold and silver, right? Now, if you could design a system to take people away from gold and silver and make them buy something that wasn't real, like crypto,
Yeah.
right? So all these people jump into crypto, think it's the next best thing, which means that the price of gold's going down because people are investing in crypto, right? Would that not allow you to buy cheaper gold, like the bigger people to buy cheaper gold and silver, while the monkeys are over here buying crypto?
Yeah, it does sound like it much like what they do with cryptocurrencies, where they inflate the price, get people to buy, and then the people that own it dump it all.
Yep, and
much like that, they probably did the similar thing with gold.
Yep, and the problem with crypto is that there's more cryptocurrencies now than there are fiat currencies.
Oh, it's incredible how many cryptos there are.
And a lot of them don't last because they pump them up, they make them worth money, they take out the money and they crash, and the person that started up the crypto is laughing because he just got all this money for nothing.
Which isn't illegal yet.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
It's not illegal. It's not illegal to fail.
Yeah.
So that's why all these cryptos have fallen over. And they're using the same tactics in crypto as they are using the fiat system, where you can rent out crypto that you don't have yet and earn interest on money that you haven't even earned yet. They're using the same tactics in crypto as they are in the fiat currency system. So I'm thinking, why would I do that? Not that I'm avid rampant against crypto. If you want to invest in it, awesome. But I've just done my research, and to me, it just doesn't make.
I think Bitcoin seems semi like there's like 2 or 3 that seem semi like pretty much like a metal. They're pretty safe, but the thing is, no one even knows who created Bitcoin. So how can you trust it?
Yeah, that's right. And another thing is, it's like fiat. It's only based on people's trust in it. Like, once it loses trust in it, it falls over.
And it's just numbers on a screen.
It's just numbers on a screen.
That's why I used to love sports betting on just any sport. I used to love sports betting on my phone. I still do every now and then. But I was getting to the point where I would win like $4,000, and it's just a little number.
On a screen.
You don't appreciate it as much, so you give it back so much quicker. Whereas if you're holding... Me personally, if I'm holding like a cash, I appreciate the cash more because that's what I'm used to.
And also with crypto, the Australian government a little while ago said, look, we're working on our own crypto, which means they've already got one. They just haven't had a catastrophe to bring it in. But I think that what'll happen is, that, like other countries that have banned, like China, they're very anti-crypto because they want you to stay in the Chinese system. They don't want you outside the system. So in some countries, they've banned Bitcoin. So the Australian government could very well bring in, let's just say, this is my conspiracy hat working, but let's just say that there was some kind of financial crisis. They'll blame it on China or Russia or whoever they want to blame it on. And everyone will be freaking out and demanding that the government do something. The government said, yep, no worries, we've got something. We've got our own government crypto. It's all lovey tickety boo. It's fantastic. Everybody over the age of 18 will get $50,000, but you've got till next Thursday to bring in all your old cash, right, and convert that into the new crypto. And once that's in the system and you're in the system, they'll be able to track where you spend it, who you spend it. Oh, you've had too much stake this week. You can't have.
They'll be able to take it away from you.
They'll be able to tax it straight away as soon as you earn money. Boof, out come your tax. You won't be able to do anything without them knowing exactly what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and how often. Now, people say that I'm crazy when they say that, but it makes total sense. Because if you wanted total control, why wouldn't you?
Well, they've already implemented it semi when they brought in like cards.
Yeah.
The second they brought in cards, like pay. Well, we have a family business down here, and the cash used to be, I would say about 85 cash to 15% card, and then over the years it dropped to like 70-30, and now it's about
90-10 or something.
90-10, and there's physical 14-year-olds that come in that wouldn't even know what the fuck to do with the $5 note.
Yeah.
Like they don't even know what it looks like.
But recently, since COVID, more and more people are starting to use it's starting to go back up again. People go like people realise, oh well, if the banks go down or something happens, I need to have moolah. And the other thing with the government bringing in a cryptocurrency, they'll just say, look, you can have $1 million in Bitcoin. Right? We don't know, Sav. We don't know when you got it. We don't care. We don't know. Right? We can't do anything about it. But if you want to convert it, we only accept the Australian central digital currency here. So you'll need to convert it. Now, it's not a tax. Oh, no, it's not a tax. But it'll be a conversion rate. And by the time you work out the conversion rate, it won't be worth you using it. And that's how they'll stitch you up into the Australian system. Yeah,
it's a shame because I know so many people now through the podcast. I've met them that have bought into Bitcoin at like $8.
Oh yeah,
and they've kept it and they've held it, but you can't sell it now.
That's right. Yeah, because
you get so heavily taxed. It's crazy.
And until you turn it into a hard asset, until you take it out of the system and buy a house or a car or gold or shares or whatever, it's just a number on a screen.
Yeah,
God forbid you lose your code and then you're completely buggered.
Well, we had a friend that passed away, and he had a crypto wallet, but his crypto and his partner was trying to retrieve his account because he had Ethereum and Bitcoins in it.
Oh no!
But it's impossible to get. You just can't get it. Once it's gone, it's just poof, and it'll get mined by people, and people will steal it over time. But so what's the difference between what's the spot? Is it spot price of gold?
Yeah.
The spot price is what you would sell it for?
No. So the spot price changes every 5 minutes, the same as any other commodity. The spot price is the difference between what the market wants to buy for and what the market wants to sell for.
Yeah.
So the spot price is in the middle. So that's what the judgment from. So when people buy gold from me, I sell it a tiny bit above spot and I buy it for a little bit below spot and I make the little bit in the middle. Yeah. That's how I make my money. That's how all traders work. Same as the money market. If you got $100 note and you want to lend that out, someone's going to offer you, like, I'll lend it to you at slightly over, and someone I'll buy it at slightly under. It's the same as any other commodity.
It's sitting a bit above $5,000 at the moment.
Yeah.
And so you would be selling like an ounce for like 5,200-ish?
Yeah, so at the moment, that's fine.
Yes, we brought in first a bit of show and tell.
So that's $5,225, and that will get you 1 ounce. May
I touch it?
You can play with it. They skim at the beach really good, but it's a very expensive hobby.
Oh my God, everyone says when you touch a precious metal, it's a very nice feeling.
Because there's something in your DNA that knows that's money.
Nice.
You can't print it. You can't. It's a physical, tangible.
For people who want to see,
it's an element. There's only so much of it.
That's This is a Perth mint as well, and that's 1 ounce.
That's 1 ounce.
It's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's heftier. It just feels a lot heavier in your hand.
Now, you convert miles to Ks, but that will make roughly 80 kilometres of thread.
For cabling and stuff.
That will make roughly 80 Ks of thread, wire. That's how fine it can go. And that 1 ounce can be beaten out to cover a tennis court.
Or a really fucking nice chain.
Or a really nice chain.
Or a really nice rope chain.
Fully sick, But yeah, that's how fine it can be beaten out to.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That one will cover a tennis court.
That's bloody phenomenal.
But this is okay. I brought some notes for you, right? So there's a difference between money and currency.
Yes.
Right. People get money and currency the same thing. They're not. They're completely different. And I'm trying to educate. I spend most of my time educating people. Right. Currency, right, is a medium of exchange. So I can give it to you. You can give it to me. You can give it to someone else. Right. It's a unit of account. So it has a value to it. Well, 5, 10, 20, they all have little numbers on them, right? Then it's portable. Yes, I can take it from A, I can put it in B. I can cross borders with it, right? It's portable. It's durable, so, your plastic note, it's durable, okay? It's divisible, so I can give it to you, you can give me change, so it's divisible. Fungible means a $5 note here is the same as $5 notes somewhere else. But the difference so that's where currency ends. Where money takes over is money is a store of value, right? So to explain that a bit better, I can take this $5,225, and I can drop these over the side of a boat out the other side of Kangaroo Island, right next to this 1 ounce gold, right? And I can come back in 1,000 years, right? This will still be there. I don't know where this is going to be.
And it would be worth nothing, probably.
It'd be worth nothing. Now, if it does by some miracle survive being in the ocean for 1,000 years, it will only be worth what someone's willing to pay for it, right? And maybe a bit more for its collectability. Whereas that will still be in its same condition and be worth collectability and its intrinsic value of whatever the gold price is 1,000 years from now, right? So that's the modern thing. Now, this will spin you out. This here is my wife gave me this for my birthday recently. You'll love this, right? That is
that's a Roman coin.
Yeah, Roman silver coin.
Oh, wow, that gives me goosebumps touching that.
Right.
That's insane.
Now, that thing is made from 179 BC.
That's so well struck as well. It's still like,
yeah.
So I don't even want to know how much it costs.
Right? You'll spin out when I tell you. Now, that, right, is 2,204 years old.
Shit. Oh, wow. That's like, that's so odd because I was looking at antique coins like 2 days ago online in the lead up to this.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Now, this is a tenth of an ounce solid silver coin. They're roughly the same size. They're roughly the same purity. That today is worth $6.50.
Yeah.
This coin still has the silver value of $6.50. But because of its collectible and it's because it's 2,204 years old, this coin is worth $90.
Oh, really?
Now, if I just magically went back to 2,204 years ago, if Sav's, your office here became a time machine and we just went choop, and we went back to ancient Rome, that would still be worth what it was in the day it was printed. You get me?
Yeah.
Right? Whereas you can't do that with plastic money.
Yeah, right. That's fantastic. Like, that's still has such good striking in it as well. Like the printing it, that's a gold, is it?
That's a gold one. Now that's a trimesis, right? That's a Roman coin. Now that is between 582 to 602 AD, right? So that's 1,400 years old. Now,
is that 24 karat?
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like you could bend it with by breathing on it.
That's 1.37 grams, so it's worth about $228 in today's gold money. But that little coin, collectability, right, is worth $1,000.
Fuck off! Sorry for my language. What the hell? Really? Can I just show you the camera that? Sorry, just want to show people how fine that is. Like, you can't even see it.
It's wafer thin.
It is. It's like I could break it with my fingers, I feel, but like that's obviously from a historical standpoint, it's worth that. But the gold value is $228.
Yeah, it's still got the same gold value. Like, allowing for inflation, it's still worth the same amount of money it was back then.
Is that why? So with gold buying, one thing I do find confusing is like how coins are priced differently to bullion.
Yeah.
Like, why is that the reason? Because coins can be worth excess amount.
So there's two types of coins. There's basically bullion grade and there's numismatic. Numismatic are collectible stuff, so they only make a vintage stuff. I'd still clear that because they've priced it nearly 4 times the time of the gold price, the silver price. So you've got to wait till it literally goes 400% more to make your money back.
Yeah.
So just like the stuff you see in the post office for sale.
But the gold kangaroos that you can buy and stuff?
The gold kangaroos that I sell are bullion grade.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones in the post office, numismatic collectible grade.
Yeah.
Don't buy them because you're just doing your money.
Yeah.
The reason that coins cost a little bit more money is just because of the
collectability
and the manufacturing of it. It takes, when you strike a coin, you've got to dye the wear and the wear factor of the coins, so they have to get checked. So there's just more to produce a coin than there is to just pour a piece of gold into a mold.
I read a thing, I don't know if it's true, I read something, I don't know if it's true in Australia or if it's an American thing purely, where when you're buying like gold, like bars opposed to coins,
yep,
you can buy an unlimited amount of coins without having to declare it.
Yeah, you can do the same with bars.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting, because it said when I was reading online, it was alluding to that bars you have to kind of claim after X amount of dollars, whereas coins you can buy an infinite amount.
No, it's the same as here.
Really?
I've had customers that go from, I've got a little Asian kid that comes in, once a month and buys an ounce of silver. While his mate's out buying pizza and alcohol, he's squirreling away his dough. And I've got other customers that buy, hundreds of kilos of silver. So I've got everything in between.
How much is a kilo of silver? That's a kilo there.
That's a kilo of silver.
Oh, that's nice. See, this is where this would be awesome to start off with, because this is so...
A kilo of silver set you back just over $1,700.
That's not bad.
Yeah, the only downside is it's bulkier. The ratio of silver to gold ratio at the moment, for every ounce of gold at the moment, you can get roughly 100 ounces of silver.
Yeah.
Right? Usually it's about 65 to 1. So at the moment it's way undervalued. So now's a good time to buy silver, because when it snaps back to 65 to 1, you'll actually make more money on silver than you will on gold.
Yeah.
Because gold's cheaper, so let's just say $50 an ounce, and it goes up by $2, you've actually made more of a percentage than if gold goes up by $2. Gold would have to go up by a couple of $100 to make the same percentage, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
So gold's a little bit more unstable because volatile, I should say, because not only is it used as a money backing, but it's also used in industry. So every time I see a Tesla, right, I go, yes, because it's got silver lead acid batteries. They can't make a Tesla unless they have silver.
Interesting.
Right.
And that's probably with all electric cars,
Yep.
which is probably making silver a really hot commodity in the future.
Yeah, correct. And silver doesn't get recycled like we do gold. So, every time they let off a Tomahawk missile, right, it's got roughly a kilo of silver in it, and they just blow it up. Now, last time I saw some footage on Ukraine, I didn't see Ivan out there with a dustpan scraping up the silver. Like once it goes poof, it goes poof.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not the ones that I've got in the warehouse ready to go up, ready to blow up. That's just the ones they use. And then there's solar panels, and they break down every 10 years. So 10 years from now, you've got to get new solar panels, so there's more silver. And with all markets, there's physical silver, and then they have paper certificates. So at the moment, you can cash in your paper certificate, and it says, if we don't have the silver, we can give you US dollars. But people say, I don't want, Mr. Tesla, Elon Musk goes, I don't want US dollars. I need silver to build my Teslas. I need the silver. So there has to be a tipping point where no amount of certificates are going to make up for I need the physical metal. So silver's way undervalued. If the market was allowed to do what it's allowed to do, and there weren't paper certificates, it should be probably $300 an ounce, not 50. So, it's just a logical thing. It's just there's only so much of it, and we're using more and more of it.
And then it comes to the big question of how can you buy things with this? Like, say you own, so this is worth 5,000.
Yep.
So say even it out to 5,000.
Yep.
Say you have. Say you have 200 of them.
Yep.
That's $1 million worth.
Yep.
Of those.
Yep.
You want to buy a house.
Yep.
How do you take that?
So someone would come in with those. We work out the price based off the Perth Mint buyback price in the day. Lock in the price. We transfer the funds to your bank account, and then
immediately.
Yep, well, within 24 to 48 hours, depending on who you bank with.
Right, yeah.
Yep, and then it goes straight into your bank, and you can use it. So if you have one of these,
and what's the is there tax involved in that?
The tax you'd make is only on the profit that you make. The same as any other asset.
So say you paid 500,000 and it doubled in price, and you went to $1 million, you pay tax on the 500.
Correct.
Which would be probably a bit like 48%.
Depends on how you got it structured. If you've got business or personal, between 30 and 48%, depends on what it is.
Yeah, right. So you can you can tender it as like a legal tender, pretty much.
Yeah. So
but could you go to someone, a private sale, and be like, I'll give you this?
Oh yeah.
And then they can go, no tax involved. Bang, bang, bang.
Man, I would find it hard that if your hot water service threw a fit, right, and you got to come up with another $1,000 to.
If you flicked them like 10 grams.
If you had half an ounce, right, or a quarter of an ounce, and say, look, I'll fix you up the rest in cash, or I can do a bank transfer for the difference, I'd highly find you could find a trader that wouldn't say no to that.
And do you deal in the pool? The pool
allocated.
The pool allocated gold?
We don't.
Because that's essentially just a stock market, really, isn't it?
It's a bit of a scam. Well, not a scam. It's just
you're not holding it, so it's in the ether. It's like a number on a screen.
It's a promissory note. Like whether they have the gold in the pool or not, I don't know. But we have storage where you have allocated and unallocated. Unallocated means, so if you give me that 1 ounce, right, I can store it for you and I won't touch it. It's yours. It stays in there for the whole year, right? If you want it unallocated, I'll store that for a bit cheaper for you, but I'll trade from that. So when
you need it, you'll come up with it.
Like, oh, gee, I've got an order for 20 ounces. I'm short one. I'll take Savs. I'll sell it, right, and then I'll replace it like a couple of days later. Yeah. So I make $25, $30 per ounce. So I just got to move more volume. So it's basically the same as that. So I'll store it cheaper for you, but I'm willing to make money from it to help counter that during the year.
So does your gold come directly? So these ones here, do they get shipped directly from Perth Mint?
Correct.
And like, what's the security protocols like with that?
Oh, you can get. It depends on the value.
I was going to say, because you'd be getting, that's probably like on the smaller end of what you
depends on what the volume is. You know, sometimes you get guys in black pajamas and guns rocking up. It's like armor guard come up. So it depends on the volume. But
have you had any instances where there's been like a risk of nothing?
No,
like robbery attempts. Nothing.
It's not like Ocean's 11 or anything like that. No, it's not like that. It's incredibly hard. It comes straight from the Perth Mint. It comes straight to us. We cross-check it, sign for it, and go straight in the vault.
When was the massive gold rush in Australia? Was it the 60s?
No, it was in the 1800s.
1800s, that far?
Yeah, there was this gold found here in South Australia, but then there was a water problem, so most of them went over to Victoria. Then you had a lot of Chinese come looking for it. You had a lot of Americans come over looking for it. And when the Chinese got here, they had their coins, which were made from different provinces. And when they got here, they realized, I can't use them here, so they just buried them. So you can go metal detecting, and the cotton bag is rotted away, but you can still find piles of these Chinese coins throughout Victoria that the Chinese old miners just buried in the ground.
There's a customer. He's an old man. He would be. I haven't seen him in like 3 years. He used to come in a lot, but he was a gold prospector.
Yeah.
He used to go up into the guts of Australia a lot.
Oh yeah.
But for years, like 60 years, he did it.
Yeah.
And he always used to come in, and I was like, one day he came in and he's retired. This was the last time I seen him, like 3 years ago. He has grandkids now. He's retired. And I go, you found a lot of gold in your time. Where's all your gold? And he goes, have a look at this. And he's got a rope, literally like a shoelace on his neck, and he has like an unpolished, like maybe 4 ounce nugget just hanging off of his neck. And I was like, whoa, holy shit.
I used to work for a jewellers, and we in the Central Market, Burgess Jewellers, and we had this guy come in, this Italian guy coming in. He had this massively. It was the gaudiest chain you could ever think of. And he wanted it soldered onto him so he couldn't take it off his neck. And we had to get him to sign a legal waiver that we weren't responsible for any injuries that happened to him after we soldered on his neck, in case he got caught on a ladder or something like that. And we had to put a...
you have to get the jaws of life if they needed to operate on him.
We put an asbestos mat and a wet towel, and we actually soldered it onto his neck so he couldn't take it off.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it must have weighed, 900 grams or something. It was like 3 cans of Coke hanging around your neck. Like it was.
Say people have like lots of inherited jewellery that they're not going to use, like ranging from 9 to 18 karat gold, maybe throw in some 12, 24. Can they bring it to like someone like you to melt down into...
Not melt it. We would do 2 transactions.
You do the gram weight and then figure out the purity.
So we buy a scrap price slightly under spot because we've got to pay for the refining of it. We can turn that. We can give them funds for that, and then they can buy back in precious metal. So it's 2 separate transactions. But if they had $10,000 worth of jewelry, they can convert that into precious metals. Yeah.
And much like most things in life, say I bought 10 of those at one time, do you get a reduction in? It is. That's the beauty with gold, though. It is what it is.
It's like going to the bank. They don't give you an extra $100 just because you take out $1,000. Oh, thank you, sir, for taking out $10,000. Here's another $100. No, it's each.
Yeah.
It's each. To get bulk, to get a discount on bulk, you're looking over 100,000. You might get a couple of dollars off, but it's not a lot. It's really set because it's commodity.
Have you seen? He's very, very popular on social media right now, and I feel like he's brought a massive light to the value of precious metals to like a real young crowd because he has a massive young audience. Tracks NYC.
No, I can't say I have.
I believe he's from New York in the Diamond District, and he's very social media heavy.
I think I have seen him. He
looks like he's Arab or Jewish or something.
He's like a typical New Yorker. I think I have seen him.
And he just deals in precious metals, but he's like, he always says the importance of like why this is worth more than this, and he's always holding cash. And he'll like go up in the streets and he'll have an ounce of gold and like $2,000, and he'll offer people. He's like, "Which one do you want?" And they will always take the cash.
There's another guy called I think it's Mark Dixon, I think his name is, and he goes into LA and he's got a Canadian coin, right, maple leaf, which is basically the same as a gold coin, and it's back then it was worth $2,000, and he had a Snickers bar, and he said to people, "Which would you rather have?" And no kidding, and they're all taking the Snickers bar, and he goes, "Oh, but this." You sure you don't want the gold coin? And they look at it and they go, "Oh, that's Canadian money. It's not worth anything."
Yeah.
And they go, "No, you can take it over to the jeweler. They've tested that it's gold." And they go, "Oh no, I don't want it. I don't even want the Snickers bar." I'm going, "Mate, what are you doing?"
What is that like a?
So that's a silver 1 ounce kangaroo coin. That'll set you back about $65.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's 10 grand. How much is that? 10 grams?
No, that's an ounce.
An ounce. That's an ounce.
Yeah. So that'll set you about 65.
That feels so much weightier. I think because it's probably small. Yeah, it's denser.
Just the difference between gold and silver, the density of it.
Interesting. So that's worth $60.
So when you see in the movie, my wife and I, we used to go to the movies. I remember when Die Hard first came out and they're shipping all the gold out and all that stuff, and they're just chucking bars around like they're nothing. I'm saying to my wife, "That's just not true," She goes, "Shut up, you reckon the movie?" I said, "No, but it's not like that. It's really dense."
Do people come in and do like massive transactions monthly?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not the biggest bullion dealer in Adelaide. But we have regular customers that buy.
Yeah.
We have two types of customers. We have ones that come in and go, "Oh, can I buy 1 ounce of gold? And how do I know it's real?" And I go, "No, dude, like really, like I'm not going to go to prison. Just really." And then I have other people. That's a scarcity mentality, right? Because they think everyone's trying to rip them. And then I have other people that just say, "Look, I'm going to transfer $400,000. Buy as much gold as you can. I'll just give me a ring when it comes in." And they seem to be the two polars. There doesn't seem to be too many people in between. It's either people just want to buy a little bit or people that want to buy a stack.
Yeah, I've always thought about just putting like X amount of dollars aside each month and just kind of putting into gold.
This will freak you out, right? Do you know, we were talking before the podcast, we were talking about how the education system is designed to keep you young, stupid, dumb and happy, right?
Yeah.
That most people are educated, "Oh, well, I'll just put $10,000 in the bank and get a term deposit for 5 years at, what's the going rate, 3.45%. Because that's what I've been told. That's what my dad told me. That's what my grandpa told me, and his grandpa told him. So that's what people do. But I've done some numbers, right? If you put in $10,000 into the bank 5 years ago, at a massive 3.45%, that's a good deal. 3.45%, right? And you let that compound. You didn't touch it. Just let it compound and do its thing. At the end of 5 years, right, you would have made $1,848.19. Right? Now, most people earn between 45 to 135K on average in South Australia and Australia. So you'd be taxed at roughly 30%. So of that 1,848, you'd be paying 554 tax. Right? So after tax, you would have, after 5 years of keeping $10,000 in the bank, you would get $1,293.74.
You get enough to buy 3 steaks and a bag of salad.
So your $1,293 you would make. Now, if you divide that by, it works out to total, you've made 12.93% on your money over 5 years after tax, right? So the real tax rate you got after tax, and this is why the banks go, "Oh, you're getting a great rate, 3.45%. Yeah, but after tax, it only works out to 2.58. Well, that's a joke. Like 2.58, really? So to put that into context, right? If you bought $10,000 worth of gold 5 years ago, right, you would have made, it's gone up by 90% in 5 years.
So you'd have made $9,000.
So you would make $9,032 in the same amount of time.
Bloody hell.
So tell me, would you rather keep it in the bank or would you have it in gold? But the banks buy gold, but they don't tell you to buy gold.
Yeah.
So they buy gold.
They're keeping the secret.
And this is what they
Yeah.
buy. With your $10,000, they go to another bank, they get a loan, right? They get 90% more, and then they buy gold with it, and they sit on it, and then they cash that out, and that's why the market goes up and down. And they cash that out, they make their 90%, and they pay you a measly 3.45.
I think we were talking off camera about it. Obviously, like much like Bitcoin now, you don't know when to jump in because it's at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Because gold now is at an all-time high, it's even me, like I'm very apprehensive about buying into it because I don't know if it's just going to, which it never will, but I just don't know if it's just going to plummet and I'm going to be stuck with this metal.
No. I think if you look at all indicators and you start doing more research, Trump has actually talked about the reason he wants to have the audit at Fort Knox is to find out exactly what's going on. Gold in the Fort Knox was valued at $43.22, and it's been valued at $43.22 for the last nearly 100 years.
What is Fort Knox?
So Fort Knox is their gold depository in the US. They've got other depositories.
So that would be one of the biggest depositories in the world, probably.
But it's never been audited since after Nixon depegged the dollar. But on their balance sheet, it says they've got, 8,000 tons of gold, and it's valued at $43.22 per ounce.
Yeah.
Right? But if that was recalibrated to today's value, well, you're talking billions, if not trillions of dollars. Oh, billions, really. And if Trump could say, well, it would be hard and difficult and a bit painful to do it, but what would happen if we pegged the US dollar to gold again? It would keep it more stable and more countries would want to use it. So that's quite possible. It could happen.
And say that does.
Yeah.
What would the estimated price?
Oh, the price, well, some pundits say it could go up to $9,000 US, which is about 16,000 Australian an ounce. So anything's possible. No, this is not my shocked face.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, when I got out of 15 years ago out of being a jeweler, it was $1,000, and now here we are 15 years later, and it's 5,000. So that's just happened in 15 years. But I just having some money, like I said, I'm not asking people to put all of their money in gold. I mean, don't be that crazy. I mean, but put something, because the more you keep it in the system, it's going down in value. If you have $100,000 in the bank, right, and we lived in a world where there were no fees, this time next year you'll still have $100,000 on your bank balance, but it won't buy $100,000 worth of stuff. It might only buy 90 because of inflation, because they keep printing more money. The more money they print makes your value worth less.
Mm.
It's
and you can buy as little as like a gram, can't you?
You can buy a little gram. A gram of gold about $175.
Mm.
So you can go up from a gram and go anything north of there.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the same amount, $10,000, you're going to be making 4.89 times more money. You make 400.89% more than leave it in the bank for 10 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So why would you? Because the system has taught you to leave it in the bank. And the reason they don't tell you about gold is because the margins are so slim, there's not enough money for everyone to get a kickback to tell you about gold. That's why they don't want you to use gold, because that's what they use. You're talking the money of kings, the money of big boys. They don't want you to be a big boy. That's why they don't want you to use it. That's why no one tells you about it.
I'd really recommend anyone who's never even held a coin to go into.
Yeah, you can come in and you can show and tell and not show.
Just touch it. It's a very strange. It's a very strange feeling when you hold gold. You never get that from $100 bill.
No, and it makes a certain noise. It doesn't sound like a tinny.
And obviously, if you have a safe at home and you look into it, it's like, oh.
yeah, that's right. You can touch it and play with it. You can swim in it like Scrooge McDuck, you can do whatever you like with it. But, getting back to the $10,000, if this, I couldn't believe it when I worked it out, that if you collected 8 cans and bottles every day, off the street, right? If I said, Sam, I want you to collect 8 cans a day, right, for the next 5 years, right, you'd actually make more money than leaving it in the bank for 10 years.
That's
5 years.
that's crazy.
I worked it out, right, that you would collect 10 cents, you would collect 12,937 cans and bottles over 5 years at 8 a day, and you'd still be $166 out in front.
Which is crazy, because
Which is mental.
I could walk outside and collect 50 right now.
Yeah. So isn't that mental that you'd actually make more money, tax-free too, because it's all just cash in hand, thanks for coming. So you'll actually make more money. I didn't even allow for tax. I just worked it straight out. You'd make more money collecting cans for 5 years at 8 cans a day than leaving 10,000 in the bank for 5 years.
So the homeless bloke on Rundle Street collecting bottles all day, he's making more money than you.
When I did security for a while, there's believe it or not, there's actually turf wars with the can guys in the mall. Right, some guy works King William Street, some guy works the mall. It's very competitive, right? These guys. There's one guy, he would take two Hessian bags of cans to this collection point at Kent Town, probably 2 or 3 times a day. And we worked out he was somewhere making between 36 and 40 grand a day, a year, tax free, and that was 15 years ago.
Bloody hell! You got to have a hobby.
You know, so you know, everyone bags these professional can guys, but they're doing all right. They're doing okay.
So what would you say for the young blokes listening or young women listening? What their best plan of like how to get into the market? What's the most accessible way? Is it the first buy is probably the most important?
Yeah. So just
because I've been sitting on it for 5 years and I shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Start with what you can afford. You know, like I said, I've got a one young guy. He buys an ounce of silver once a month. So
which is
about $65.
Yeah.
But it's increased in value quite substantially. So it's really just work within your budget. It's probably harder for younger people because their parents will be, oh, why are you doing that for? You know, go up, because that's their thinking. You got to realise that once you unplug from the matrix and you realise how money's made, everything around you changes. You realise the government can't do anything about interest rates. You realise that the bank system's rigged, and you just go, what am I doing? You start to research. The best people to look at if you're young is look at a guy by Mike Maloney on YouTube, and he has the best video he has, The History of Money, and it breaks down very simply how it's made, how the system works, and the history of money. That's all he does. And another good person to listen to is Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad. Read his book, listen to his podcasts, and also watch his videos.
What was the name?
Robert Kiyosaki. He's a Japanese American. He served in the Vietnam War as a chopper pilot, and he did some crazy stuff when he was young and 21 in Vietnam. Him and a few guys. Yeah, that guy.
That bloke there, I'll just put it up for people to see.
He's written a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad because his rich dad was a friend of the family that he listened to, and he became very wealthy. His real dad was a university lecturer and basically ended up dying poor and broke.
Yeah.
Very educated, but not with money. So my best advice is if you don't become a student of money, someone else will do it for you.
And you'll work for them. Whether that be the government or whatever. But if you need to be a student of money. If you don't understand how money works, how it's interest, how you pay tax, what's the best way to do things, right? You'll pay an accountant. Everyone should have a good accountant, or your financial advisor. Financial advisors are always underwritten by someone else, so they sell products that they're going to make commission for. So they're thinking about themselves, not about you. They're just thinking about how they can make money from you, right? So that's why they use financial advisors. The rarest person you can get advice from is called a fiduciary, very rare. That is basically a financial advisor that have their own skin in the game. So they're usually not underwritten by other people, but they sell you the products that they're making money from as well. Not very many of them around. And the best piece of advice I could give that was given to me
and this has saved my bacon. My wife and I, it's saved us so many times. Whether it be sport, marriage, finance, jobs, careers, whatever, religion, whatever you want to do, only listen to the people that have what you want to have.
Yes.
Right?
That's massive.
Right? I'll say it again. Doesn't matter if it's sport, religion, business, finance, right? Whatever, health, doesn't matter. Only take advice from people that have what you want to have. For example, I don't know anything about soccer. Now, do I go and listen to drunk Uncle Bob that can sit on the couch and watch every soccer game, knows every statistic about every game that's ever happened on the planet? Or Beckham's just moved into my neighbourhood, do I go and have a beer with Beckham?
Yeah.
Which one would you take advice from?
Yeah, of course, the one who's actually made success in the sport.
Bingo.
Rather than the one who knows everything about the sport.
Correct. So, like I said, do you want to listen to someone that's wealthy or drunk Uncle Bob? You know, you've been successful with marriage. Do you want to listen to your sister that's been married twice and gone through couple of divorces that cost her money? Or do you want to listen to somebody's great-grandparents that have been married 60 years? You know what I mean? You can apply that. You can apply this to anything. And it's my wife and I, it's saved our bacon so many times. So many times.
Do you have any, like, do you collect coins, like old coins?
I don't. These are the only two that are...
it's so funny. I was literally looking at this coin.
Yeah.
I was looking at this coin
Yep.
last, like, 2 nights ago, and I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah, the best place in Adelaide to go for that sort of thing is a coin dealer called Purple Penny.
Yeah.
He's out at Mawson Lakes. Collectible coins, they're just good and fun to have. But
it's just cool holding something
it's just cool
that
to have,
old.
But the rarest thing in a rare coin is finding a rare coin buyer.
Well, the thing is with gold as well, like that gold might be like 1,000,000 years old. No one knows.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, that gold coin is 1,404 years old. But the good thing about it is an ounce of gold, because it keeps its value, an ounce of gold in Roman times, right, would get you a good set of armour, right? It would get you a night in a town accommodation and a good set of threads.
Yeah.
Right? Today, that 1 ounce of gold, if I was in America, right, if I was in America, I could get a bulletproof vest and a 9mm, a good set of threads and a night in the town. It still has the same...
Yeah.
It still has the same amount of stuff that it did back then than it does today.
There was this was years ago, I would say almost a decade ago. Joe Rogan had someone on his podcast, and he was a massive gold advocate, and there was this, I don't know if it's still a thing. He had a credit card, but it was made of pure gold, like I think it was 18 karat gold.
Oh, cool. Yeah, right.
And it was for a thing where you buy your gold, you store it somewhere, and you make transactions with it as you would PayPal. Pay ID. Or like you'd use it, and then they would take out that finite amount of gold out of your purse.
Out of your account.
Yeah. I can't remember the exact name of the business.
Yeah, I have heard of it.
It's online, and they send you like it's an immaculate card. It's just this bright gold card,
sexy looking thing,
and it's heavy.
Yeah.
And every time you scan it or use it online to make purchases, they take out X amount of dollars. So I imagine it's like a pool. Of accumulated gold.
Yeah. I know that you can go to Dubai and they have vending machines. You can put your credit card in. You can buy gold from a vending machine.
How important is Dubai in the scheme of like the gold industry?
Yeah, they're a big player.
Because they more trade with oil, I guess.
Yeah, they're a big player. A lot of countries that don't have social security like we do have gold. So you're looking at Thailand, India, China, places like that, Middle East. A lot of countries like that, they deal with gold. They always have and they always will. So people go, oh, gold's an old thing. Well, it's been used for millennia. It's not going to tip over anytime soon.
Whenever I used to pass through Dubai airport, I always used to go buy gold over there because they don't charge for design, they charge by weight. I used to buy 24. I got these like 2 really nice 24 karat gold rings.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I should see how much they're worth actually.
I mean that's right. And it's always been around. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's got a history to it where a lot of other things just don't have a history. Like I said, Bitcoin just doesn't have the history. It doesn't have the. We don't know what's going to happen.
It has made a lot of people an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend who bought it $8, and he just held it. It's like the balls you'd need. Like that much with gold.
Yeah. But I mean, even if he cashed it out and paid tax, he'd still be out in front.
He'd be a millionaire.
If I bought Bitcoin at $8 and I sold it today and still paid tax,
I'd be laughing.
I'd still be laughing.
Yeah.
Whatever. Give the money to the government.
That's why. That's one thing that I don't have. It like, say I bought that gold 15 years ago for what, like $1,500. Say I bought $50,000 worth, and today, just off rough maths, it would be worth like 1.x amount of millions. If the government wanted 300, take it.
Yeah, because you're still going to be way out in front.
I'm still so in front.
Yeah, that's right.
So you got to have like a bit of, not distrust, but you got to be wary with the government's intentions, but also it is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing,
you have to be realistic
when it comes to training in money. You have to get your mind around the fact that treat money as a tool.
Yes.
It's just a tool. It's just a number. I can turn this tool into that tool. What can I use this tool to make more nails with, or whatever? It's just treat it as a tool. Whereas most people treat it as a thing. I've got to hold on to it. I'm never going to get rid of it, and and they stick it under the bed where they could have used it to make more. So it all comes down to what mindset you have. If you have the mindset that everyone's trying to rip you off, you'll never get ahead. If you have the mindset of like, okay, someone needs $500, just give them $500, because the way the universe works and karma and all that sort of whatever you want to call it, it'll come back to you later. It's just a different mindset. It's just a tool. That's all it is. It's just a tool.
Well, I won't keep you too long. We'll get you back on if there's any major movements in the gold industry.
If the zombie apocalypse starts,
you live very close. So whenever there's any major movement in the gold industry, it's interesting to have you on, because that was very, very fun. But where can people find your business?
I'm in the Edmonds building in the city in Adelaide. So we're up on the 4th floor of 38 Gawler Place in the old Edmonds building. I'm pretty much there all the time. So you can just look me up at SA Gold Traders, and you'll find me pretty easily there.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at info@adelaidegoldbuyers.com.au. I pretty much look at it all the time.
Yeah, you're very prompt with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. But just remember that an ounce of gold you can use in the zombie apocalypse, not so much a crypto wallet.
Exactly, and it probably good at stopping a bullet as well.
That's right.
Easy, Lee. Thank you so much for coming on.
Not a problem.
It was a pleasure.
It's easy.